the camera started rolling, my mind just went blank. You can probably tell by the title of this video. Let's just start. I don't even know where to begin. December 2022. Throughout 2022, my husband and I were seriously discussing starting our family. We talked about the timeline and when we thought it was gonna happen. We were talking about it and he suggested that we start trying at the end of 2022. Now, at the end of 2022, in December, November, December, we had a big European winter trip coming up, just the two of us, where it was kind of our first overseas trip since COVID, and I always knew that I really wanted to travel quite a bit before we settled down and had a family. So we decided to start trying after that time. I agreed. I was like, okay, let's go for it. But if I'm being completely honest, in my heart, I don't think I was ready. I'm the type of person that loves to plan out my life. I love knowing what's gonna happen next. I'm very much like a type of person that really feels the need to be in control a lot of the time, and I like knowing what's gonna happen. I think the idea of pregnancy has always sort of freaked me out because it's just so unknown. Like, it's just honestly such a mixed bag for everyone. Everyone has so many different symptoms when they're pregnant. So many different things could happen, so many different complications could happen, and I guess in a way, like, you never know what's gonna happen. It kind of just always scared me that if I got pregnant, I would just kind of be stuck being pregnant, and you know, I'm just on this train for 9 months and I have no idea what my future is gonna be like. And I think I always knew that that was something that I needed to surrender to God at some point, because I knew I definitely wanted a family, and obviously I wanted it to be ours. I knew that was something I had to surrender to God at that point, but even when I said yes to my husband that I was ready to start trying, I don't think I had fully surrendered to God at that time, and I was just very afraid. So we have our big European trip, we go on the trip, and we, funnily enough, my ovulation dates lined up with like the last few days of our trip. We were in Italy at the time and we were about to fly out back to Brisbane in 2-3 days time, and it was actually, my ovulation date actually fell on my husband's birthday. I remember waking up on the day, and we had already discussed previously throughout the trip, like, it's gonna happen, like, we're gonna try. And I remember being like, yep, let's do it. But I remember still being so afraid. And I remember praying to God in the morning, asking him, like, God, like, is this the right time? Like, I have no idea. I'm still so scared. And then I just had to pray. I was like, you know what, God, if this is your will, if this is what you want for me, like, I will surrender my fear to you. I'll surrender all the fears that I have about this, because I know this is something that I really want. I really want a family and I really want children. And even though I'm afraid, I'm ready to go through it if I have to. For dinner, we went to this really nice, like, Italian restaurant, and then we went to go get some gelato afterwards, like takeaway gelato, and that was supposed to be Arnie's cake for his birthday, because there was no like cake around in the area that we could find. Previously, before this, we'd actually already come up with a list of boy-girl names. We had one specific boy name and one specific girl name that we wanted to name our babies in the future. And I just remember when we went back to our Airbnb, we were eating the gelato, and one of the like wafers that were given to us from the gelato place actually had on it printed the name that we wanted to name our child. And I just felt like that was all the confirmation I needed. I felt a lot of peace from that moment moving forward, and we decided to try. In January, I took a test. It was negative. I was like, okay, it's whatever, it's just 1 month. 2 more months go by. We're trying consecutively and really trying properly. Throughout like February, March, negative test. I remember thinking at the time, like, I shouldn't be freaking out, but I was freaking out a little bit. I already thinking in my head, like, maybe there's something wrong with me. Why is this not happening for me? I think I just got a little bit confused and upset in a way, because every time I had heard stories of my friends or like family friends and people that I knew getting pregnant, it was always people that got pregnant without even trying, or they got pregnant within the first 2-3 months of trying. So for us, when we weren't getting pregnant within the first 3 months, kind of took that as a bit of a red flag, and I was a little bit like alert, a little bit upset. 3 more months go by of us trying from April, May and June, and every single time I get a negative test, I do not fall pregnant. My mental health is slowly but drastically disappearing. I just remember feeling at the time like so sensitive to anything. Like it like literally consumed me. It was all I could think about. I remember every time I saw someone post a pregnancy announcement, I would cry. I would like see babies and like people getting pregnant on TikTok and stuff like that, and I would cry. When I visited my pregnant friends, I would go home and cry, and I just remember feeling like so inadequate and so empty. I just remember feeling like, why is this not happening for me? And I just felt like there was something wrong with me, and I was like, I'm doing everything right. I'm tracking my ovulation. I'm like, you know, like tracking my temperature and mucus tracking, and I really wanted to look into vitamins that I could take to help with conception for both me and my husband. And I just remember like, I look back at that time in my life and I just think I really tried to like plan my whole conception and be in control of everything. Like I just remember telling myself, and I remember telling my husband like, oh, I want to get pregnant at this time, like in February, so I can have the baby in October, and I could be like on mat leave by the end of the year, by Christmas. And like I used to plan it like that meticulously, and like I think about the process and everything that we went through now, and I just think it's so silly that I really tried to hold on to it that hard. At that time, we kind of had a bit of strain in our relationship, my husband and I, because it's just a lot for us mentally to both go through. So we decided it was probably best for us to stop trying for a bit, because I got to this point where I was really upset and really crying a lot. And I know it sounds so silly, it's like we were just trying for 6 months and I got so upset, but I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, if you've been through it, I think then you'll understand how it feels. It was really hard just kind of like accepting, or just thinking about the fact that like I've always wanted children my whole life, and that's all I've ever wanted, and the possibility of that like not being able to happen, I think just like really scared me. But yeah, we decided to stop trying. We stopped trying between June to August. In August, one of my best friends actually is gonna get married in October, and we were gonna go to Japan for a bachelorette trip for her, and my husband came along. We decided we were just like not gonna try because we have our big Japan trip coming up. We've already paid for everything. We don't want to ruin any plans, and so like we obviously decided to just put it on a pause. And it was really crazy actually. We went on this date night, I actually remember, and we were just talking about all this baby stuff. Every time we ended up talking about it for a while, we kind of got into a big argument about it because emotions were very high. It was a very sensitive point of topic to talk about at the time. But I think in this date night, we had already decided it's not going to happen for a bit, like we'll just put it on pause for a bit, and then we decided to talk about it a little bit more rationally. It was a really good chat. I think my husband just like reminded me that like I was trying so hard to control this situation. I really wanted it to happen, and I wanted it to happen in my own strength, but I wasn't really putting a focus or emphasis on how God was going to work out in all of this. And I just had that crashing realization in that moment that like, you're so right, like I haven't included God in any of this, and I'm really trying to make it happen on my own. And so I decided to just let it go. I decided to just let it go and just focus on myself and my health. I just remember praying at the time. I was like, you know what, God? I remember in December 2022, you said to me, it was a good time to start trying. We should start trying. And for me, that's confirmation that like we will have kids someday. I'm just gonna let it happen. I'm actually just gonna let it happen. Just gonna let it go. Whatever is in your timing. And I just remember from then onwards, every time we prayed, it was very different. Every time we prayed for this, it didn't feel like it was out of like desperation or fear or anything like that. It actually felt like I was just coming to God and just asking like, hey God, like this is the desire of my heart. Like I want this and I surrender this to you, but everything in your will and everything in your timing. For the next 3 months, we kind of just lived life. We went to Japan. We had an amazing time. I'm so glad I got to do that. I couldn't imagine doing that pregnant at all, but it was like the best time. We literally just threw ourselves into like church and our community and like focusing on serving at church and like socializing with people, hanging out, spending time with family. It was honestly like a really fun time. Like the second half of last year was so much fun. And then when we got back, we decided to start trying again in September. September, we started trying, and then by October, I had my friend's wedding, the one I went to Japan for, and I remember I was actually like, at the time of her wedding, I was like a week late. I wanted to test after the wedding. I wanted to see if I was pregnant like afterwards, just in case. Like I don't know, I just wanted to enjoy myself throughout the wedding and everything. Not that I was drinking or anything, but I just wanted to like kind of like not have too much going on in my head and just like really enjoy myself. So after the wedding, I was like about a week late in my period, and I tested and it came out as negative. I was very confused. I was like, okay, it's a week late, whatever, like I'm not getting any symptoms for period or anything, but it's whatever. And then I waited another week. I was 2 weeks late at this point, and I tested again. I was so certain it was going to come out positive, but it came out negative. I was so confused. I was like, my period is 2 weeks late, and like my period is not like, it's not known to be irregular. Like I have had irregular periods before, but it was just very confusing because it hadn't been like this in a very long time. At the time, I was like, I'm gonna wait like another week or a couple of days, and if my period still hasn't come, I'm gonna go to the doctors and get a blood test so that I can really confirm. I think like 2 days before I decided to call the doctors, my period came. And I just remember feeling really devastated. It was kind of confusing because I felt like it was a time of like, oh, I had a lot of hope for this, but I also didn't because the test came out negative anyways. And so I was like, okay, it's whatever. At least a period means I can try again in 2 weeks. So that's totally fine. And the next 2 months were honestly just like really hectic, busy months. As you guys know, like the last half of the year is just a hectic time. October to December, just so many events, so much work going on, just a lot in general. So our lives are really full, and we weren't really thinking anything about getting pregnant or anything. Obviously we were still trying on the dates that like I was ovulating and everything, but it wasn't even like on my mind as much as it was in the beginning of the year. And I already knew. I was like, I let it go. I gave it to God. It's gonna happen in its time. So the day before New Year's Eve, I was about 2 days late. On Christmas Eve, I got really sick. I caught the flu. My husband caught the flu, and then I caught the flu from him. But I was sick for like even longer and down like a lot harder than he was. But I remember during that time that I caught the flu, I was so fatigued. It was so crazy. Like I just remember on Christmas Eve, we had like a Christmas Eve party to go to, and I was supposed to be prepping and cooking the whole day. I was just down sleeping the whole day. I was so exhausted, and then I ended up mustering up enough energy to cook a little bit before we had to leave. And then on Christmas Day, I was so tired. My family was just like, they all understood because I had the flu, but I just remember like literally needing to sit down and like close my eyes all day because I was just that sleepy. All I did was just eat and sleep. I slept like 3 hours that afternoon, and then I woke up starving and I just ate, and I was like, why am I so hungry? All I did was sleep all day. And then the next day, it was Boxing Day, and I remember we drove down to the Gold Coast for my dad's birthday. I literally remember being in the car with my husband and my husband's dad, and I was falling asleep mid-conversation. I was just laying there listening to them, and then I fell asleep for like half an hour of the drive. I remember the time being like, I've never been this tired in my life. This flu has like really got to me. And then the day before New Year's Day, I remember I still wasn't feeling like 100%. I was like a little bit sick, but like a lot better than before. But I was like, oh, I really want to take like a Panadol and a Benadryl just so I can feel a little bit better. And then I had this thought. I was like, oh, I'm like 2 days late to my period. Like, as much as I want to take a Panadol and a Benadryl, I should just take a test and make sure that it's completely negative. And I just remember at the time, like, I was so certain it was gonna be negative. Like, I remember getting period symptoms and I was so certain I was gonna get my period. On that day, we were watching Top Gun Maverick. We were just watching it in the lounge room, and I remember thinking in my head, oh, I've got to scull this water so that I can go take a pregnancy test. So I sculled the water and I was waiting for the end of the movie, and because I didn't want them to like pause it and wait for me while I was in the toilet and everything. So once the movie was finished, I went to the toilet and I took a test. I was genuinely so certain it was going to come out negative, but I'll play the clip. Obviously, you guys now know I am pregnant. After I took that test, I went to the store and I bought 2 more tests, and I bought some stuff to go announce it and tell my husband. I took 2 more tests that day and they both came out positive. I've been to an ultrasound since and I can confirm there's a baby in my belly. That little bean was my baby at 7 weeks. But we are just so happy. I am literally 10 weeks tomorrow. By the time I post this, I'll be 13 to 14 weeks. That's what I plan on announcing it and telling everyone. But there's not much of a bump right now. Wait, can you? There's not much of a bump right now. It's not completely flat anymore. Crazy. There's a little baby in my belly. We don't know the gender yet and we won't find out till 20 weeks. I just think this whole pregnancy journey so far, since 2022, God has just had his hand over the entire thing. If there's anything that I've realized, it's literally just to let go and give it to God. Like, he knows so much better than we know, and he knows the plans that he has for our life. Just trust him. Just trust him with like everything that you have, because honestly, we can map out and plan our life as much as we want, but it's not nearly going to be as amazing or as great as what God has for us. This pregnancy journey has been really great so far. I'm just so overwhelmed, like honestly, with all the love and support that our friends and family give us. They're just so supportive, messaging us all the time. I just can't wait to share more with you guys. If you guys want any video suggestions, this is obviously my first time being pregnant and everything, so I don't know, like I don't know what kind of videos you guys want to see, but I've seen a lot of like first trimester recaps or just like things in general. I really want to get back to the gym soon, but if you guys want to see workout videos that I'm hopefully gonna do while pregnant, let me know, or just like daily vlogs, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want to follow more, see more of my journey, every single week I will be posting it, obviously, my Instagram and TikTok. They're both just at @Nicole with 2 E's. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.